Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council special meeting for tonight, August 18th, 2026. If you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This special meeting is now started. Please let the record show that all the members of council are present this evening. In our meeting this evening, I wanted to lay a little bit of information, is that this meeting is a continuation of the July 28th, 2026 City Council meeting that took place at our usual chambers. We had so many guests to our meeting that we decided to reconvene this evening so that everyone could be here and feel free to be part of it and have a discussion. Just a reminder that the ordinances that were brought before council that evening were draft ordinances. These were ordinances that were drawn up by the previous law director for discussion and for debate and for revision. Since this is a continuation of our previous meeting, the ordinances this evening are the very same ordinances that were promulgated for that Tuesday evening meeting. Also, here at City Council, I've made sure that we have responsible council members, and all of our council members will not be rude or attacking to any of our guests this evening. We're here to talk about issues and not about people. The same rules of decorum also apply for our guests. If you would like to discuss an issue or you have a question, it's issues and questions that we'll be discussing. Also, all the members of council are very attentive to the emails, and they've attended all the meetings and listened to all the questions we've had. After council discusses each of the ordinances, if you have a question or a comment that would progress the conversation, you're more than welcome to come up and catch my attention, state your name, and ask your question. If it's a reiteration of things that we've already met and talked about and sent emails and had conversations about, we've been paying attention and taking notes. Without any further ado, we can get down to this evening's items of legislation. Would you read the caption for the first?
Yes. First reading by caption only, an ordinance establishing a zoning tax amendment for the data centers, defining their use and classification, and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Saragate.
Thank you. Would you like just a summary since I'm new here?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. This amendment was at the recommendation of Planning Commission. They were looking into classification for data centers. And so from their research, they were recommending that those specifically should be identified as conditional use. And so that is included in this ordinance, as well as some language defining data centers and data center campuses.
Right. We've had plenty of time to read through this ordinance and also field questions and concerns about it. Do we have any comments from council? Mr. Mast.
I don't believe at this time that this ordinance accurately establishes what we're trying to do with zoning regarding data centers. And I may suggest that we may want to table this ordinance and develop a new ordinance that more accurately represents what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. And Mr. Mast, by tabling an ordinance doesn't mean setting it down on the table and walking away and letting it go old. Since these ordinances, as I had said previously, were drawn up by our previous legal law director, tabling them would say put them aside and have our current law director draw up new ordinances. That instead of continuing and making revisions to ones that she didn't draw up, she would draw up her own for us to review and discuss suggested changes. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not out of pocket about this, am I?
No, that is correct. Under council rules, that would be an option. And I know from looking at this, some of the language is ambiguous. Some language isn't clearly defined. So I do think that it would be a good idea to make some adjustments. And I'm happy to bring that back before council.
All right. Mr. Corbett.
Can I second that? Can I make a comment? I'd also support that with Mr. Mass, but also when it comes back, I would prefer to have 3 readings and not an emergency.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I agree. Sorry. I agree with Mr. Mass. Also, when it comes back, I'd also like to see 3 readings and not an emergency.
Okay.
All right. We do
Thank
have
you.
a motion and a second, but before we go to any sort of vote, do we have any, say, suggestions or questions? Ms. Kaufman.
Yeah, my comment is that since we're going to revise the zoning ordinance to be accurate and up to date, it very much needs an emergency vote because we need to get the ball rolling and get the details put into the zoning code so that economic development is no longer further negatively impacted. I do realize that not everyone in the room or in our community believes that economic development has been negatively impacted and that the doors are closing to prospective businesses. But I see Erica Willitzer in the crowd tonight, and at some point I'd like her to discuss, as she's able, the impact locally that she's seen since the last month has been undertaken by all of us with the developments we're getting. I think the community deserves the right to hear from Erica Willitzer regarding comments as to how economic development has been impacted, and we need to get the zoning ordinance approved under an emergency to move that along so that the actual amendments to the zoning code for data centers can be started and getting underway and finished.
Mr. Engel?
Yes, is there going to be like some type of time frame on this that you will need to work this out?
For my draft,
Yes.
I will work on it pretty quickly. I'm hoping like within a week or 2.
If that's the case, are we saying then that the zoning ordinance for permission to revise it can be done under emergency and we can start the process of adding things to it that we want?
From my research, I think that this can be done as an emergency within, our codified ordinances. There's a section in there where when it's a zoning amendment, there's 3 ways that can be addressed. One of those ways is by planning commission referring it to council with recommendations. And they've already done that. So it's before you to decide. So it can be done as 3 readings. Legally, I think we've got enough to do it as an emergency as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and to clarify, Mrs. Sarragan, when an ordinance is an emergency, that means 1, that it doesn't need to go to 3 readings, and 2, there's not the 30-day waiting period after it has been, if it's passed, to wait before it goes into action?
Correct.
Right. The term emergency is disconcerting to average guys like me. It's like, okay, it doesn't mean it's an emergency. It means that we circumvent the normal waiting time in order to get something enacted.
Correct. It's implemented faster.
All right.
President McMaster, also with the emergency, it does have a 30-day, but also the 3 readings normally will take 30 days as well.
I think what he's trying to say is even if it's an emergency, we can still take 3 readings.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that it's not necessary
Is that
to.
correct? An emergency, but have 3 readings?
Yes, it's allowed to have 3 readings,
Okay.
definitely. And Mr. Mast?
I did have another suggestion or motion, and I don't know if we want to deal with that at some point here after we take care of a vote on this matter regarding establishing a 3-member committee via Council Rule 8.2,
Okay,
a specialization committee to research the zoning.
okay. First things first,
Yes.
we do have a motion to table. We have a second to table.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Waxler? Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch? Yes. Mr. Hancock?
I heard that there was a question, how do we address them?
I'm sorry, what?
There was a person in the audience that had a question. Do we address that during our roll call, or do we continue with the roll call?
Oh, we have to finish the roll call.
Okay, yes.
And if we have a motion to table and a second, we can still take questions on the issues of the ordinance. Any questions that would be entertained at the point would be about tabling.
So yes, Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
It is tabled. Now, before we get to the forming of a committee in 8.2, do we have any questions or comments regarding the ordinance that's in front of us? Is that Mrs. Roop?
Creates a definition for data centers and does not give us the specifics of what Ms. Warnicki was recommending, correct?
Oh, to be specific, the ordinance that's in front of us was not sufficient. It was inadequate to meet our needs. And
Yes.
so, in order to speed up the process, rather than having several meetings correcting or adding definitions and dealing with this, Mrs. Sarragan is going to draw up her own ordinance. Now, she's been paying attention and has read the emails and seen the meetings, so she is starting well ahead of where the first ordinance was. And this will be a way of it getting drawn up faster so that it can be addressed.
Can you give us some specifics on exactly what that ordinance will lay out? Will it adopt all of the recommendations that Ms. Warnicki made? Will that be a back and forth between council and their new recommendations or other suggestions? What will we get in that final document?
Well, that's what I was going to take questions now about is she will be drawing it up, and then next time we convene and consider that ordinance, we'll be discussing the items in that ordinance. So,
Yes, you can amend it.
yeah, so yes, it can be amended. It can be amended until we're done amending it.
If there's not enough to satisfy us all.
But we're hoping that that piece of legislation will be the full and final sort of zoning updates ready to go. And that we're hoping that will be ready in like 2 weeks for an emergency adoption.
Mrs. Sarragan, am I fair in saying that when you draw up this ordinance, you're drawing up an ordinance that is legally sound and good to go?
Let
That
me
will still be
clarify.
discussed by council whether it meets council's approval.
Sure. Let me clarify. I can understand the confusion. So what was requested previously for the former law director was to establish or draft an ordinance solely regarding the definition and classification for data centers. So when I said 2 weeks, that would be what I mean. Now, Mr. Mast briefly spoke about creating a committee to look into this in a more specialized fashion. That would be, in my opinion, that committee would make recommendations for all the specific details that you're talking about. So that would come probably at a later date outside of that, the 2 weeks that I said. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we all know what to expect from this new ordinance, that it's not just an updated definition, whether it will be all of the things that we saw in the presentation during the town hall, or if this will just be something that gives us clearer definitions to be retrofitted into our current zoning codes without the updates from Ms. Warnicki. You know what I mean?
May I?
Yes.
The original special meeting was called to introduce not only the legislation, but also the planning that Nikki had developed, Ms. Warnicki, forgive me, had developed for us to go over. So at that meeting, we were going to, I think, consider those changes and then amend that ordinance. So that's what, all that should have been done, or was intended to be done in one meeting at one time. Not finished, but obviously give the reading of this ordinance and discuss what zoning additional ordinances we wanted to add to it. Does that make sense?
So ideally, the next ordinance, I'm sorry, boot me if I've met my time, right, Mr. McMaster? So the next ordinance will just be an updated copy of this pretty short language, and the next special meeting will be when we discuss whether we adopt Ms. Warnicki's recommendations.
Then our next meeting won't be a special meeting. It'll just be
Okay.
a meeting of city council. This is a special meeting because we started one a couple weeks ago. There wasn't enough room for all the guests, and so we rescheduled it for tonight. So tonight's a special meeting.
Right, so the specifics around all these updates to the zoning code would not be even discussed until the next meeting when this next piece of legislation is ready. Is that
That's my understanding.
the plan?
I didn't hear what you, when did you say it would be discussed?
So whenever this piece, maybe it's not the next meeting, whenever this piece of legislation
Whenever
is
she has
ready,
it ready to go, it will be discussed.
right, is when you will then ask for new amendments based on the recommendations that
Right.
have been sitting for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as well, we also have a motion about forming a committee, a
Yes.
commission. But before that, do we have any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Root. Do we have any other questions or comments? Mr. Uresti.
Joe Uresti, 918 Wayne Avenue, Defiance. Point of clarity, I guess, Mr. McMaster. When you read the ordinance, at what point would you take comments from the public before the vote? What you went was right into the legislative portion with the councilman. Would the public be invited to make comments before you finish it with the council comments for a vote? When does the public get a chance to speak before you guys make your final decisions? That wasn't done today.
Oh, typically, when we have an ordinance in front of us, council will discuss this first, and then there's comments.
I understand there's a discussion, but the thing comes down to is what you were doing is going from one to the other, and then there was a vote, potential of a vote. The public needs to basically step up, voice their opinions on the ordinance, and then council can basically take that in consideration when they make their final decision one way or the other. I do appreciate Mr. Mass tabling, and I also, Mr. Hancock's want to take out the emergency clause. I wasn't convinced that this is an emergency, no matter how you want to say it today. There is no emergency today. Emergency are timelines where something needs to be done the following week, 2 weeks. We've done that many times on council. That's not what this is. This can be basically taken out, goes to 3 readings, if that goes to that point, or the committee. And if the committee takes 2 months to do that, they can do that. You guys are the legislative authority. You guys can do what you want. You're not held to timelines. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uresti. Mr. Bagel.
Charles Bagel, 1204 Wayne Avenue. I'm one of only 4 of the original 15 Charter Commission members living today. My concern was in Article 2, Council giving up checks and balances in the Charter. You shouldn't give up your checks and balances there. That's what keeps our government going. And on data centers, a lot of natural resources.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of natural resources will be used rapidly, like water, energy, computer chips, which you have a shortage of in this country. They're building a big center down east of Columbus. They'll employ 20,000 people, and they'll still will have a chip shortage. The major three automakers are...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure. Are you discussing the topic at hand, which is the zoning ordinance?
Well, it's the heart of what your zoning ordinance of dealing with data centers. You got to take care, look at all the information before you make a decision on that. Okay?
I agree.
And let's look at what other places are running into too with these data centers. And don't be in a big hurry to do an emergency. Let the community get their say and their hearing on this object. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Kelly Croy. I live on 732 Burning Tree Drive. I'm sorry, this is my first meeting, and I wasn't really clear from the answer that was given. Like, when will things like decibel limits and things like that be discussed? Will they be in the emergency ordinance, or is that something the committee is going to address? Because I have comments on that if it's going to be addressed quickly.
This evening, what we asked is to table the ordinance that was before us a couple weeks ago. That
Right.
the city law director is going to draft a new ordinance for us to discuss at a city council meeting here shortly.
I understood that. What I wasn't clear is what's in there. I mean, I think it was still unclear to me from all the comments that were had. Like, a very specific example of where is the decibel limit? Is it in what you're going to write in 2 weeks, or is it in what the committee is going to potential committee is going to discuss?
Well, right now we have a motion for this commission. We haven't quite
Okay,
voted
that's why
on
I
it
said
or passed it,
potential.
so I
Yeah.
can't promise what a commission that we don't haven't established quite yet would do.
Okay. Well, if it's in the 2 week thing, I have concerns about the 70 decibel limit. In the community, in the neighborhood I live in, we have an issue right now. It's an intermittent issue, but there's a lot of noise and a lot of vibration. And Mayor, thank you. I know you're addressing that. But, from my understanding, the city doesn't even have the ability to measure decibels at the fence line of these facilities. So as we're considering what an impact of a 70 decibel limit is to people within the area of potential data center, do we really understand what that means to have that level of sound on a 24-hour, 7-day basis? Because we experience probably more than that, and I can't really say. I mean, based on that 70 decibels is a conversation next to you. It's louder than that in our neighborhood. So if we can't measure it and understand what we're currently experiencing and understand how we're going to address that, how are we deciding that 70 decibels is what we want to write potentially into an emergency code and agree to that for the data centers to have sitting by us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? So that's my concern. Vibration as well. Do we really understand the level of vibration that's being set? And if that's happening every day, every hour, what that's going to do to homes and people near that. So
You're actually a very good question asker. Good job. But the idea of noise, I have a couple points on my mind in case council has any other questions. Number one, we've had an esteemed citizen also bring up the whole vibration issue just recently. Number two, Mr. Mayor, you personally have checked decibel levels, haven't you?
I have, and I will tell you, after speaking with Mr. Crocker today, who handles our nuisance abatement, I then went to our city engineer, Melinda Sproul, and asked her if she could provide some recommendations of firms that can measure both decibel levels and vibration. So she wanted to ponder that a little bit. I'm sure it's a very specific topic that we'll want to work on. But we're serious about working on this. And once we have that recommendation from Melinda Sproul, we will interview a couple of these companies and see what it is they can do for us so that we can get this nailed down. We can measure decibel levels. It's the vibration that's probably the bigger concern and something that's much more difficult to measure.
Yeah, I don't know what that is right now, what we're experiencing right now, and my concern is that we're saying we're okay with 70. And, you know, I have an article from the Colorado State Legislature posted on their website, like a very low hum from industrial noise on a constant basis can really impact cognitive thinking, give headaches and things like that. So it's just hard to say, like for me to say if that's going to be in the emergency thing in 2 weeks. Am I comfortable with 70 decibels? Because I don't really know what we're experiencing now. And if this were happening to us every day, every hour, it would not be a pleasant experience. I can't even sleep in the north end of bedrooms in our house. So that's my only point, is I didn't understand where that fell, and I'd probably be on the same page with them about the emergency if we're not going to have a lot of time to really think about what 70 decibels and what level of vibration means to the people around a potential data center.
Good questions.
All right,
But thank you.
Mr. McMaster, can I clarify? Can I clarify something?
Big pardon?
May I clarify something?
I didn't hear. She wants to clarify. Yeah, please do.
It is so hard to hear up here, just so everyone out
really
there.
is.
Up here, it's really hard to hear each other.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So the Planning Commission's clerk's report from June 2026, within that, Planning Commission recommended to City Council to make changes to the planning and zoning code for the principal permitted uses, to the conditional use and the definitions. So from my understanding, that is what was requested by council previously to the former law director for just that to be drafted. So that would be what I plan to redraft if the motion carries for the table. And after that would be when all the other specific suggestions about noise, vibration, that would happen after. That would not be my 2-week estimate, just for clarification.
Thank you.
Mr. President. Mr. President,
Mr.
can we also just clarify real quickly the difference between emergency and non-emergency ordinances? When it's called an emergency, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can still read it 3 times. What it really impacts is when it goes into effect.
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
Yeah, and any ordinance that comes before us can go to 3 readings. It can go to more than 3 readings. We can let it lie. We can table it. We can do whatever. Council is not forced to vote up or down on something that we still want corrected or looked into. The main component of an emergency ordinance is that there's not that 30-day waiting period after it's approved, if it is.
Thank you.
That's a good clarification. And
Well,
you had a
John
comment.
Thierry, 910 Riverside. I have a couple of questions. First of all, who is the one that's going to be paying for all this? Because to my understanding, I've spoken to some friends that data centers have come in and their utility bills. It's got to get compensated one way or another, and it'll be us citizens that end up paying for that.
Okay.
Is that correct?
One moment. Are you asking a question about
the
the...
data centers coming
Okay,
in?
that would be the next ordinance. We're fielding questions right now about the zoning ordinance.
But is it on the data centers, correct? Because I don't feel like we're getting a lot of information. I see you guys already voting up here and us not being able to have our questions. I want to know where the funding's going to come from and who is the ones that are going to be paying for this, because I have a feeling that not everybody understands this. Not everybody understands the impact that it's going to have on us because we're already having an impact on our bills and that. So
Okay.
somebody that doesn't make very much, can you imagine, doubling in their bills?
Okay. Right now, the ordinance that's being discussed is about the zoning, about tabling the current ordinance on our zoning definitions, sending it to the law director, and then looking back at it after it's done. The idea of who's paying for a data center isn't even being discussed right now.
But don't you think it should, especially if it's coming out of our pockets?
All right. This,
It will be discussed.
it shall be. In fact, the very next ordinance we're talking about is the moratorium issue, and that would be a good topic to discuss. We need to suss out who's going to pay, who's not going to pay, but that's the second ordinance on tonight's
But do you
items of
understand
discussion.
that you guys are voting already for this, and if you guys are rolling the ball, and we're not even informed enough for us to understand.
All right, to be informed, our first ordinance is about wording in the zoning. The second ordinance is just discussing whether there's going to be wording in a moratorium. The idea of allowing a data center, any particular data center, the fees associated with a data center, those are all questions that could be brought up to say, should we have a moratorium or should we not? But that's the second issue. So right now, if you have a question about zoning, I'd be glad to field it.
Okay, well, I guess I don't, but
Be-
just that.
because we follow-
I'm sure Defiance citizens really want to know exactly.
I just
what is
want to
coming
make
up,
this
because
comment.
I do have a feeling that we're.
Yes,
the ones that
Mr.
are gonna
Corbett.
pay for that.
I just want to make this comment. I understand everybody's concerns. I'm sorry. I'm soft-spoken, I guess, or I don't want to beat on the mic either. I understand everybody's concerns. I understand your concern. That's part of what this process is going to happen as this moves forward, where we write into the zoning code that maybe it's before the meter power, that it doesn't come off the grid. There'll be closed-loop water systems. There's a litany of stuff we're going to go through to protect the citizens of Defiance from any thing that may be not productive for them. We don't want to, data centers shouldn't cost us any money. They should pay for all the infrastructure improvements. There should be no tax breaks. We got to go through all that, and we will do that. So I understand what you're saying, but you got to let us do our work or we won't ever get there. That's all I'm saying. We've tried to get through this for almost a month now, and every time we get delayed, we're leaving ourselves exposed until we get the zoning proper.
And I understand
Okay,
that,
all
but
right?
we also have a lot of questions.
I understand.
You're right.
And we're going to address them. That's all I'm saying. I don't want you to, lose any sleep over it tonight.
I won't.
Okay.
I definitely, this is my first meeting, and the first thing
No.
that I caught coming in was all of you guys voting yay for this emergency.
Okay.
This is your first meeting, but these people out here have been to more than one, and we've heard these same concerns, and we understand that. We hear what you're saying, and our job is to protect the community from anything that might be detrimental to them. And
to be-
that's what we're going to try to do, okay?
and to
But
be
we got to have the opportunity to do it. I'm sorry.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mrs. Crutch.
To go along with that, we understand where you're coming from, but there's steps that we have to take. So before we can even think of a data center, we have to think of just our zoning codes. How are we going to get everything prepared for our zoning codes to get in place for this manufacturing industrial building that could come in? So we have to start with the zoning codes, get those all the best that we can get them to make sure that we are protecting the citizens of Defiance.
Can I have a hand on our panel here? How many want the data center?
Okay.
We don't know.
Point of order, we are discussing zoning.
I just want-
And to be certain that council did not vote yay on an emergency. I don't think you're understanding what we did. I'll reiterate. What we voted on was to table the ordinance before us, saying that it was insufficient. We're not going to vote up or down on this. We're going to table it, put it down, and let the law director draw up her own ordinance that is better crafted. Correct. Then we'll consider that. The idea that we voted yay on anything that was an emergency, no. We said, this homework is not good enough. Let's get better homework.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You had somebody on point over there, and I couldn't see him.
Oh, we had a point of order?
Somebody back here had a point of order. Did I hear that? No?
No?
Just was raising a question that we were, as you said, discussing prior matters, not raising additional questions.
All right, thank you very much. You're correct. Ms. Neese.
Yeah, Barb Neese. The emergency word sets up a flashpoint because emergency can mean a lot of different things. It's tabled tonight, correct? Correct. Can you guys revisit it in other city council meetings? Like, could you revisit it next week and say, we're going to vote to emergency these ordinances and then vote them through? Can you do that?
All right. I'll reiterate. What council did with the first ordinance is said that this ordinance is insufficient. It did not do what we wanted. We're not going to entertain or read it. We put that homework aside and asked the law director to draw up a new ordinance for us to look at and discuss next time. Now, when it comes, we will read through it and see, does this match what the public wants, what we want, what council has been looking for, and probably debate it for a little while. In fact, we still have a motion lying to form a commission to look into it even further, but we've been taking questions.
But
So
you didn't answer my question.
my question to you is, we are no longer looking at this.
My question is, because someone brought up the idea of fast-tracking emergency, bringing these ordinances and deciding, yeah, this is good for the health and safety of Defiance citizens. Can you do that in a city council meeting, emergency it, in a city council meeting? I know it's been tabled, but can you bring it up again under the format that she brought it up? And then council members decide, yeah, we're going to take this to an emergency vote and do it without the citizens being aware of it.
Ms. Neese.
May I clarify my remark earlier? My comments were that once the zoning ordinance has been prepared, that when it comes to us for a vote, that we do pass it under emergency so that it can be in place and lawful without the 30 days waiting. And it means that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't be brought to council until the zoning code revisions have been thoroughly vetted, discussed, everything's ready to bring to council for
And you were going to comment, Mr. Mast?
Ms. Neese, I think maybe what you're asking is if this gets tabled, can it be brought back?
Exactly.
It can be brought back off the table, but it takes a motion at a meeting to be brought back, and then it would be carried over to an additional meeting beyond that. So there would be plenty of notice, I think, if that were to happen. That is not going to happen, but that is possible within the rules to do.
Yeah, that is one of my fears. I would just like to also say, I think the health and welfare of the citizens of Defiance takes over precedence over our economic development. We have plenty of time.
Do you have is this about the zoning ordinance?
The zoning, like the it goes back to the word emergency. Why would city council want to fast track these? I know you're saying it's for the better, it's just get it done with, let's do it. But in my mind, when you're dealing with health and safety issues, it takes more than 30 days to get there. It's going to take more than 2 weeks to figure out zoning to protect people from like 125 diesel generators on top of these data centers or gas-fired power plants. That it's going to take more than 30 days.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Neese. We've answered this several times, that there is no 30-day limit. We're tabling this to look at another ordinance, and that 30 days is after if it's passed. It doesn't take 30 days once passed to become law, but we're able to field it and offer suggested changes until we're done doing it.
Hi, Tim Cohart, 332 Northwood Drive. My question is, will the revised zoning ordinance be made available to the public before it's brought up in council? Will the public get a chance to look and have some time to consider what you're going to consider before you vote on it?
All the ordinances before it comes to council on a Tuesday are publicized.
Okay.
Just like every other ordinance.
We're on the website?
Just the caption.
Okay.
But they are promulgated or they're on the website. It's always up before city council meetings, yes.
Okay, so they're available to the public to look at before you guys.
Definitely. There's no secret meetings in America.
Okay. Point to consider. My research shows that there are at least 3,000 active data centers in the United States right now. So we assume that every one of those data centers passed zoning approval before it was approved. And yet, when you look on the internet, all you hear across the country is complaints about noise, among other things. So that tells me one of two things. Either the data center is not complying with the zoning requirements, or the zoning requirements weren't restrictive enough when they were written.
Okay.
So I don't know what the procedure is, how you deal with zoning violations, okay? But I assume you give the offender notification and then give them time to correct the problem. And if that doesn't work, what then is what action is taken if the offender does not correct the problem after notification?
Just a moment.
This might be a good time to remind everyone that you can go on the city website, Mr. Cohart, and then sign up for email alerts and text alerts, and you'll get all the city planning commission, all the agendas can be sent to you via email in that way.
Okay, I didn't know that. Good, thanks for the information.
So online, there's our city ordinances, and under 118304, it outlines the penalties for zoning violations. So there's 4 different sections, and so that would be an answer to your question. And that's also something that can be revised.
Okay, so penalties. At any time, would that include shutting the data center down if they absolutely refuse to comply?
Did he say?
And the reason I ask this is because these data centers are being built by some of the richest people in the world, okay? And I assume they've got some pretty high-powered law firms behind them. So my assumption is that if there was an attempt to shut them down or inhibit their operation, there would be a pretty protracted legal fight. And in that time period, those of us who can hear the noise will continue to hear it for as long as that takes. So that's basically my comment, but those are thoughts I want you to keep in your mind when you're looking at these zoning requirements and putting them together. Thank you.
Thank you. Plus, Mr. Mask, a lot of the concerns as far as the zoning has been centering around data centers here. And we had a motion by you in light of section 8.2 of forming a commission.
Yes.
So we have a motion to form a commission.
Can we finish the vote? Second.
Yeah, I already asked everybody for Steve Waxman?
Maybe. You didn't call my name, so,
Yeah, you were last.
okay.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
There we go.
Sorry, we're just trying to finish up the last point of business.
Mr. Master, you had a motion for a committee to be formed in order to,
Council Rule 8.2, motion to establish a committee of 3 to consider legislation to amend city ordinances in preparation for zoning.
okay. And we have a second for that motion from Mrs. Crutch.
President McMaster, could you please repeat? We can't hear down here. Could you please
is it
repeat?
better now?
and speak directly into the microphone. It's
All
not
right.
traveling down here with what the motion was, and we'd like to
We
make
have-
sure we know what we're voting on.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Mast and a second from Mrs. Crutch in line with Section 8.2 to form a commission in order to do, what's the wording? Do research into,
Yes, assist the planning commissioner and the city law director in researching and establishing zoning ordinances for the data centers.
And so this is a committee of 3? That's different than a commission. I wanted to make sure I was hearing correctly.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes. Excuse me. Sorry. Yes. Just one more question. It's a quick one, I promise.
Nope, not right now. We have a motion and a second are doing a roll call vote. I will get to you in just a moment.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch? Yes. Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
And Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So it's gonna need to be, you'll have to announce one on this. It's gonna uphold it if you don't do it now, so you have to do it.
Right. Mr. Mass, would you be willing to serve on this commission?
Yes.
All right, then I would be glad to appoint you to this commission. Are there other council members that would be glad to serve on this commission? Mr. Corbett? And is it Mr. Waxler? And Mr. Waxler.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you had a question. Please state your name.
I'm Zachary Sparks. I live at 1498 Westgate Drive. I just have one question actually pertaining to the committee that you're making too. When they bring those actions in the motion, will they be amended into law or will it be like guidelines that the zoning ordinance has to follow where they could get like civil penalties, like fines and stuff like that? Or would it be more like in law where like criminal action would be taken instead?
I didn't understand the words.
Could you hear?
If that
I'm sorry, it's the microphones. I simply could not hear what you're saying.
So basically, with the committee that you're making, when you pass these decisions, are they going to be passed, like when they decide everything for the zoning ordinances, will these be criminal charges if there's any violations in terms of like against like the people in like jail time and stuff like that? Or are we looking at more like financial consequences like fines and different payments that they'd have to make in violation of these zoning ordinances? And if that depends, this is my first council meeting, so thank you. But yeah.
I believe the gentleman is asking for the violation, if there is a violation, what is the criteria for not following that fault, I guess? Is that
Basically
correct?
how far it would go,
So-
like whether it would be like, if there'd be like time in jail or like stuff like that, or whether they'd just be paying fines for stuff like they would for violating a crime, or if it would just follow that like general law.
All right, I think I can hear you now. I believe his question, Mrs. Sarragan, is would violations be considered a civil or criminal action?
Basically.
That's a great question, and it's something I will need to research and get back with you on, because there's so many different options. So I want to review it before I tell you tonight so I can have a clear answer.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and that is a good question because none of council members are attorneys. I would dissuade them from giving any sort of legal advice in that matter. Mr.
Joe
Uresti.
Uresti, 918 Wayne Avenue. Question. The committee, once it's convened, is that going to be a public meeting where the public will be able to attend?
I don't think we,
Yes.
Joe, Mr. Rusty, I don't think we've worked out all of those details yet.
Well, what I'm saying is if you guys are going to have a meeting,
It's a three-person
it's going to
committee,
be
Mr.
recorded,
Rusty.
and it's also going to be, the public's going to be invited. You can't have a private meeting.
It's a three-person committee, Mr. Rusty, similar
Please.
to what we've had in the past.
Please?
It's a three-person committee, similar to what we've had in the past before we switched to the liaison model that we have now. So we've had committees in council for a long time, so they can meet individually with the law director and the planning committee.
Yes. But like I said, it's basically you're looking at it's a public meeting.
Yeah, well, they'll be reporting back to council with results.
The public will be invited. Yes.
They don't have to be for I don't think so. To a three-member committee meeting.
If you have a 3-committee meeting, you can do it.
The actual design of a committee meeting or that kind of committee is to make recommendations to the full council. So yes, they can meet to start and walk through this process. And then when they get to a consensus with that committee, they bring it back to the council table. And that meeting, the public's invited to hear anything that was talked about. But actually sit down in the committee meeting with us, is that what you're trying to find out? We're going to have a committee meeting tomorrow, and this is hypothetical. Please don't put it in the paper. To talk about this,
How many councilmen will be together?
it's 3, and it's not a
Okay,
quorum.
so-
It's not a quorum.
What is the sunshine rule?
Sunshine Rule states that if a quorum of council members are gathered together at a scheduled meeting to discuss an item, an ordinance for legislation,
And
it needs to be
minutes.
public.
Thank you.
A three-member committee is not a quorum. Do we have any other questions or comments on zoning ordinances? Without any questions, would you read the caption for the second ordinance?
First reading by caption only, an ordinance enacting a 12-month moratorium on the review and approval of any application for a data center development or data center facility site plan within the municipal boundaries.
This ordinance is discussing, of course, what we've been discussing for some time, a moratorium. Mrs. Sarrigan.
Yes, thank you. This was drafted for 12 months. Again, a moratorium for any review and approval of any application for a data center development or data center facility site plan. There were various suggestions, including the data centers, Bitcoin mining, cryptocurrency uses, and other similar manufacturing uses. This would basically restrict for a 12-month period Planning Commission to review and approve any application for a data center in Defiance.
Do we have any questions from or comments from council? Mr. Corbett.
As this ordinance is written, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, guys. As this ordinance is written, it's not acceptable to me, and I'd like to table this also so we can rewrite this ordinance and make the changes we need to make.
Do we have any questions or comments?
Would you repeat, Mr. Corbett, please? We can't hear down here.
I can hear you.
Yes, but if you'll speak directly into the mic, I think we'll be able to hear you.
What I said was this ordinance is not acceptable to me in the way it's written in the current form, that I'd like to table it so we can redo it and bring it back in a different format.
Is that a motion to table? Because if not, I'll make a motion to table this draft moratorium as it's written on our agenda tonight.
That's a motion to table this draft ordinance for this ordinance for a
And then I'll
moratorium.
second that motion.
Okay. We can sideline. Do we have any questions or in regards to tabling this motion. Mr. Uresti.
You're dealing with tabling it or recommendations on language?
Tabling it.
Because there's two sections that need to be reviewed if you're going to be tabling it. Is there a committee that's going to be formed to review it like you did the first one?
We've had no such motion.
What's that?
We've had no such motion. The ordinance as presented is insufficient. It doesn't do a good enough job.
Okay.
We are going to ask it to be tabled and for Mrs. Sarrigan to draft her own ordinance for further discussion.
And I support tabling it, and I guess because we're here, there's two sections that need to be looked at, if you could. On page 1, section 2, the second half of that paragraph, it says, on the date that council adopts the amendment to the Planning and Zoning Code, Part 11 of the Codified Ordinance of Defiance, Ohio, that applies specific definitions and regulations to data center campuses, data center warehousing facilities, and power generating facilities, whichever occurs sooner. What this amounts to is one or the other. The first part of that paragraph can stay because that is a complete sentence. The second part is basically contrary to that paragraph. So if you read that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The second one.
All right, I hate to interrupt you, Mr. Uresti. Is this a question pertaining to the tabling or to the actual ordinance? If we take
the reason why you want to table it, and I support that, but I'm just giving you my reasons why I support it.
Okay, fair enough.
And then the second part is the last page. And this is the part that I don't understand why it's there. And that is E on the last one where it says, if an applicant who wishes to appeal the decision of the Planning Commission may file an appeal to the mayor in his sole capacity as the chief executive officer of the city, who shall have the final decision on the hardship appeal and whatever. And I think that's taken away your decisions as legislators. I would take that out big time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Uresti. Mr. Mast? Mr. Uresti, I think we all can agree with you, and I think every member of council has some major qualms with this moratorium, the way that it was written, and I think what you'll see returning will be vastly different from this, so
thank you. So, roll call, Ms. Elders?
Mr. Waxler,
This is for,
tabling to the second ordinance.
thank you.
Yep. Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
No.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
And Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Maybe. The second ordinance is tabled. And thank you, Mr. Master, brought to my attention. While it is the president of council to appoint members to each committee, the appointment of these members to the committee also need to be approved by a majority of the members of the meeting. So, when we established the commission of 3 people to discuss the zoning ordinance, it was my prerogative to appoint. You guys, Mr. Corbett, Mr. Mast, Mr. Waxler volunteered to be on it, so I appointed. Now, I do need a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the commission, and we'll take a roll call vote to see if council approves the appointment of these 3 council members to said commission. Do we have a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Corbett, Mr. Mast, and Mr. Waxler to that commission? So move, Mrs. Crutch.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Kaufman.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
And Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Motion is that the appointment is approved. Congratulations. Now back to where we were. We have tabled the second ordinance regarding the moratorium for applications for data centers. Mr. Uresti succinctly pointed out sections 2 and 4. Are there any other questions or suggestions, seeing that we've heard and also agreed that we've considered these? It's a good point. Do we have any questions or comments in regards to the ordinance from the moratorium?
I'd like to request that Erica Willitzer, the county economic development person, give some remarks regarding what she has seen in the economic development climate and any changes that might have occurred.
Mrs. Willitzer.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Get closer. Really? John? Okay. Well, thank you for asking me to come up and speak. First and foremost, whatever happens or whatever decisions that you guys make, I will uphold, I will respect. I'm here to serve. Also, when it comes to the development of this Elliott Road site, also want to make sure everybody understands, if you're new here, we do not have a data center in hand or a prospect. I'm being serious. We have no data center. We do have a site. We do have a site that could potentially host a data center. And the reason that our office, our board was open to that was because that area, Elliott Road, currently, there's businesses in that corridor that have low water pressure. The infrastructure is old. The electrical, there isn't a lot of capacity in that area. So our hope was, if there was a data center that would come in, keep in mind, this was, a while ago when data centers weren't controversial. The thought was, if we could get a good data center to come in, they paid full freight, helped upgrade your infrastructure. We're hearing stories that they actually they actually build wastewater plants. So the thought was that this would actually help the community members. It would aid in the residents not having to, down the road, pay $200 million for a new wastewater plant or upgrades to a water plant, which, by the way, on that area of town, the infrastructure is getting close to a point where we can't really recruit any more businesses. So that's why we were open to it. But I will tell you, when it comes to the concerns that people have, we have those same concerns. We don't want bad players here. I would never want to bring something into our community that would harm any single person. I care and I love this community. So our office and our board, which is made up of it's half public, half private. It's made up of all the community members throughout the county. And they also believe the same way. They care about the community. They don't want to bring anything that's bad. So, but whatever happens, happens. But your point about like the uncertainty, the last 3 weeks, I told Mr. Keller, it's been quiet. There's been no calls into the office. I actually had a company that was looking to purchase the rest of Enterprise Industrial Park to build some buildings for advanced manufacturing. They have put that on hold, waiting for this decision, waiting to find out what the path is. Action from this council will show them that, okay, their council understands that action needs to be made. If their concern was, okay, are they gonna come in, try to do a lot of switching around with the M3 or the M2 zones? That was their concern for advanced manufacturing. But regardless of that, I think that if you just show that you're progressing, you're making the effort, you're, again, hearing all the concerns, because I have the same concerns. I don't want anything that's humming. I don't want anything that's smelly. And I think our board feels the same way. We want something that's good in our community that's actually going to bring a tremendous amount of value. That's how we look at all of our projects. So there's that. The other thing I want to make sure that you're aware of, with any project that's going to be tapping into the water and sewer, you will have the right to do a community development agreement. We have an agreement, a development agreement with First Quality, which holds them accountable to making sure they have the berms and they beautifully landscape. I mean, all the things that, a lot of the same concerns you guys have here. We can put all of that in addition to in your zoning, that you guys end up laying out. We can put all of that also in this development agreement, and you also can negotiate for a lot of different things. I know some people have said some donations to the riverfront. That's if we even get a company. A lot of companies are not even going to look at us if we don't get this squared away and pay close attention to it. But I'm very proud to say that, in my opinion, you guys are on top of it, trying to make sure that we're moving this forward. So I do appreciate that. I think that's from my perspective. I want to make sure everybody understands that we are for responsible development. We don't want to ever have anybody harmed from development. My job is to create opportunities. I would say, I'm trying to think of it, it was like 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was on welfare. My husband and I both lost our jobs in the same week, had young children. I got this opportunity down the road somehow by the grace of God. And I think it's because I don't want people to have to work for minimum wage. I want them to have more. I want them to have great opportunities. I want them to have tech jobs. We can have all of this. We can address all the concerns you guys have, because I have those same concerns. But we have to make sure we have the right planning in place, and that's what you guys are doing. And we also have to have civility, which I know Rebecca has mentioned that many times, and I agree with that. So that's where I'm at. Our office, we want responsible development. And at the end of the day, whatever you guys decide, I'll respect. But I do appreciate keeping things moving along because it will help with some of these other projects that we're working on that have actually stalled because of the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Willitzer. I always appreciate it when you come. You're a very clear-thinking person who's easy to understand, and thank you for the work you do.
President.
Yes, Mr. Waxman.
You know, these data centers, we keep hearing, I respect everybody's opinion. I got my own. You know, we've heard all the bads. It's all we've really heard is the bads. I've never had anybody from a data company, especially, are they different now than they were 5 years ago, 10 years? I'm sure they are. So I guess if there's a data center wanting to come to Defiance, I think that whoever those people are need to come to a meeting, explain what they're willing to do and how they're willing to do it, and tell us how their operation works. Because I hear now that they have, they don't even use that much water. They dip the boxes down in some liquid, so they're liquid cooled. I'm not saying I'm for them or against them. What I'm saying is, I think that we just keep hearing all this bad, but I would like to know what it is they do, how they do it, what they're willing to do, and what would do for the community. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, because I believe that everybody, I don't do Facebook because I try to get kicked off in 2 minutes, because I'm not a good person when it comes to it. I like to argue too much, I guess, so. But I just think that if there is truly somebody, Erica, that's looking at this, I mean, I don't know if you have anybody or have a company or recently built one. Maybe we could hear from somebody.
So we did, the mayor, I think, it was Mr. Mack, myself, and some other individuals. We went to visit the BG data center that's being built and asked a lot of different questions from an infrastructure standpoint. they did mention that it was a loop system, 40,000 gallons a day, not the 3 million or 5 gallon million that you're hearing. So from that perspective, and then they ended up, the company built a water tower for that area. So there's good and there's bad, but that's just like any business. If we get an end user, and I will make sure that you guys know ahead of time. Honestly, I'm not gonna bring you something that I think is bad.
Well, I'm just talking about, we had questions tonight about the cost of the taxpayers, the cost of it. That were great questions because we don't know.
Well, I feel like if we can set ourselves up, I think we make it so that there isn't a cost to the taxpayers. We need to be negotiating it so that it's a win for us. The hope is that.
But it's hard to negotiate something if you don't know what you're bringing with you.
Well, correct. Which is hard to argue with a lot of these points because we don't have an end user. When we have an end user, we'll invite the company in to answer all these questions. But our office will screen them beforehand, making sure, and then alerting you guys, hey, we do have a prospect, but we don't have a prospect yet. We have Mr. Keller, who's developing a site that potentially could have an end user, but our office, we want to make sure that whatever does happen there is great for the community.
Right, and I think no matter what we do, it's going to go to a vote anyway, so people are going to tell us what they want.
Correct.
I would just like people to know what they're missing or could be missing, because I have no idea. I have no clue. I just hear all the bad, but I've not heard anybody from a data center say, we're willing to do this. You'll make this amount of money for this city.
We don't have that, we don't have those numbers. I think the one thing that I look at just from being, looking at the future from a prosperity standpoint, I know I've heard a lot of people say something concerned about their bills, their water bills, sewer bills and all that. Well, in 10, 15 years, if you don't have new companies, new industries that are bringing in that revenue, you're probably looking at having some increases on your bills for a new upgrade or new plants that you guys need. If we could land a data center that is a good neighbor and a good citizen that would pay full freight for upgrades of the infrastructure, upgrades for everything, which we're hearing that they're doing that in other communities. Well, that essentially will keep the levels of the bills stable for a longer period of time, if we don't have one.
I'm just saying, I don't, everybody's hooked on the word moratorium. I don't want people to think we're not over the business.
Well, that is the message that unfortunately is happening. But I think if you can make sure that you keep things moving, a moratorium, I think a vote would probably, I know they're saying that that's actually going to be on the ballot potentially. So if the people want to vote about it and do their own research, unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of misinformation on all sides on the internet. So it's hard to understand what's truth, what's not, what is true.
Did you hear anything, what they're doing in Bowling Green, what their offer was, what they're doing, what the city's going to gain from it?
I haven't heard what the details were, but I do know, as far as like any additional donations or anything like that. But I do know that they paid for all their infrastructure, for the water, the sewer, the water towers when we went there.
I'd like to know what kind of money it brings to the city.
It depends on the kind of data center, and if I've actually modeled it out based on the building sizes, you can kind of tell how much the taxes would be on the investment amount. I have that modeled out already. I can share that with council.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Willitzer.
Thank you.
There, you're up.
Hi, Zach again. I have a question about the moratorium. Sorry. When that is reinstated with a new ordinance or whatever, would we look into more environmental regulation to help decrease the amount of energy and water use? Or are we looking at more I guess just kind of I guess that's my question, actually. Like, are you guys going to try to put stronger restrictions on the electricity and water use of these places more than other buildings so that they don't overuse?
I'm sorry. I'm picking up every other word, but for some reason, Lisa can hear every word you're saying.
No, it's okay.
No, yeah, just to be clear, and tell me if I'm speaking out of line. The purpose of, okay, we lay the moratorium ordinance that came to us. It's not good enough, and so Ms. Sarrigan is drawing up a new ordinance. The purpose of a moratorium isn't to delay or set things aside. It's to put a pause for just the kind of homework that you were suggesting. If it was passed, the purpose of the moratorium is that members of council and groups would do homework and research into areas that citizens have. Clearly things like power and water, the environmental effects, that kind of thing is the purpose of the moratorium. So, good question.
If that moratorium with the ordinance is like brought back up, then we would bring up those concerns about like the energy usage and like what environmental factors we could restrict around that area for the data center.
Definitely, yes. Yep, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Hello, Mona Bejarano, 1130 Jefferson Avenue. I've never been to one of these meetings, so please be patient with me. I just would like to voice my opinion and my concerns about this. I feel like we all need to do research on all of this, obviously. Data centers are not new. They've been around since World War II. But these kind of data centers that are coming in and taking over the country, they are new. They're from AI. That's why they're populating so much. Everyone has noticed how popular AI has become, and that's why there's so many data centers. And I would really appreciate it if everyone not only looked into the next 5-10 years to, the damage that these data centers may cause, but I mean, I'm 22. No offense to anyone here, but I'm pretty young. And, you don't see many young faces in here. I want you to look, 50, 100 years, for my children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. I want you to really look into the damages that this is going to do to the community. And I want you to decide if that's the kind of community you want to raise your families in. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Caden Solis. I'm from 1744 Palma Drive, and I am, too, a young face. I know, shocking, a lot of youth activism. And I would just like to talk about the fact that we do hear a lot of bad about data centers. And sure, you could make this case that they may bring economic prosperity, which of course is important, but to me, and from what I've seen, from what I've dug into, it seems like a Faustian bargain. Like you're dealing with the devil for this short-term gain, and you're sacrificing the long-term effects which truly drive a community. Sure, we may have a nice new water tower, which, as some infrastructure built with data centers, has just been driven to these data centers. But how will this affect our community? How will this affect us years from now, like she said? Because again, I'm with her. I'm 20 years old. I would love to bring my children or their children's children to my hometown of Defiance, Ohio, and see it a wonderful hub. But if we start diving into this deal with the devil that comes from this short-term gain approach that data centers optimize and love, will there be a Defiance to come back to? Will we truly have a community where it'll be like, we might turn into Pottersville from It's a Wonderful Life if we truly keep this ideology of short-term prosperity and we just look at the wonderful gain in spite of the much worse defects and negatives which come from data centers. And so I would just like to say, just do research, please. With this moratorium at this table, please.
Okay, and thank you very much. The moratorium ordinance that we let lie and we'll be bringing back is the purpose of that moratorium that we tabled, right, is to do just what you're suggesting.
And of course, I'm up here because I'm afraid. I grew up in this environment seeing all this, and I just want to make sure that you're here for the people. Because I've seen a lot of, local boards like this where they say they are, and then they sell down their community down the river just for some idea of prosperity. So I'm here because I'm scared, and I do hope you make the right decision. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Oh, one more.
Hi, my name is Megan Sweeney. I live at 818 Nicholas Street. I would be pretty much in this data center's backyard, per se. I want to know what this is going to do to my home value. The light pollution, the noise pollution that it'll produce. Not only, on our electric bills, which I know you guys touched base on, but I've been there for 20 years. It's an investment that I've made in my life. And I don't want to see my home values go to trash because a data center goes up.
All right, thank you very much. All right. If we have no other concerns, did you have?
I'll share a letter. Let me get this a little closer.
And while you're getting that around, did council have any other letters that they received to read before we adjourn for the evening? All right, Mr. Corbett.
All right, this is from Steve Hubbard, who couldn't make it tonight. He had another engagement. It says, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I respectfully urge the city council to adopt a one-year moratorium on the approval of the new data centers within the city of Defiance. This request is not based on opposition to economic development, technology, or private investment. Rather, it's based on the belief that the city should fully understand the long-term impacts of these facilities before allowing them to be developed. Data centers represent a relatively new and rapidly evolving form of government. They are fundamentally different from traditional commercial or industrial uses because of their extraordinary demand for electricity, substantial utility infrastructure, specialized cooling systems, backup power generation, and their potential impacts on surrounding neighborhoods. The City of Defiance has a responsibility to make land use decisions that protect the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents. That responsibility requires careful planning, informed decision-making, and public participation. A one-year moratorium would allow the city to thoroughly evaluate whether its existing zoning regulations adequately address data centers or whether new standards should be adopted. Among these issues that deserves careful study are whether current zoning districts are appropriate for data centers, whether special use permits or conditional use approvals should be required, appropriate setbacks from residential neighborhoods, building height and mass requirements, landscaping and buffering standards, noise limitations for cooling equipment, transformers and emergency generators, outdoor lighting standards, emergency response planning and fire protection requirements, electrical infrastructure and transmission needs, water usage and wastewater impacts, stormwater management, traffic impacts during construction and maintenance, environmental considerations, the fiscal impact on city services and infrastructure, whether taxpayers could ultimately bear costs associated with utility improvements or public infrastructure, the long-term effect on nearby residential property values. The city should also examine whether existing utility infrastructures can accommodate facilities that consume extraordinary amounts of electricity without affecting reliability for existing residents and businesses. Equally important, the city should provide opportunities for meaningful public education. Most citizens have never lived near a large data center and may not understand how these facilities operate or what impacts they may have. Before decisions are made, they could permanently alter our community. Residents deserve an opportunity to learn, ask questions, and participate in the process. A moratorium would also allow Defiance to learn from other communities across Ohio and throughout the country that have already approved data centers. We should benefit from their experiences, the successes as well as the challenges before making decisions here. The city's comprehensive plan should also be considered. Every significant land use decision should be consistent with the community's long-term vision for growth, economic development, neighborhood preservation, infrastructure investment, and the quality of life. If data centers are to become a part of Defiance's future, they should fit within a thoughtful planning process rather than be considered in isolation. A temporary moratorium is not a prohibition, it's a pause. It provides time to gather facts, consult experts, review best practices, update zoning regulations if necessary, and ensure that future decisions are made with the benefit of complete and accurate information. Good planning always has been one of the hallmarks of responsible local government. Decisions involving developments of this size and complexity should not be rushed, but simply because the opportunity presents itself. The question before council is not whether data centers are inherently good or bad. The question is whether the city of Defiance has sufficient information, appropriate zoning regulations, and adequate safeguards in place today to responsibly evaluate these projects. If there is uncertainty, the prudent course is to pause, study the issues carefully, engage the public, and establish clear standards before any approvals are granted. The decisions made over the next year could shape our community for generations. Once these facilities are built, their impacts will be long-lasting. Taking 12 months to ensure we get those decisions right is both reasonable and responsible. I respectfully ask council to adopt a one-year moratorium on a new data center approvals while the city completes a comprehensive review of its zoning regulations, infrastructure capacities, and long-term planning objections. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your continued services to the citizens of Defiance. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Well read. You should do those e-books. You have a very calming voice.
You got one.
All right.
Hi, my name is Barbara Lassick. And I live at 1660 Meadowway Drive. I don't know if it's questions, comments, whatever. But, okay, so tonight, zoning, you let that lie, right?
We tabled the ordinance, yes.
And then you're letting lie the moratorium.
It sounds about the same, but we're tabling it.
You're pausing it. You can
And
bring it
by
back.
tabling it, we're allowing the city law director to draw up new ordinances that are more in line with what we're expecting to discuss.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, in the paper today, I see that there is a ballot issue going to be put on the ballot about data centers. Is that correct?
While there is, this is a special meeting, and like I said at the top of the meeting, is that the purpose of a special meeting is to address the two ordinances that were for discussion tonight. I'm not trying to be rude, but...
No, you're not. But what I'm saying is, before Chelsea, I know your name.
You can call me Chelsea.
Chelsea, okay.
You've known me for a long time.
She gets everything done and fine-tuned and it's more specific and detailed for everybody. What if she doesn't get that done until November 3rd? Will this issue be on the ballot for it to be voted down, no data center?
This answer.
Yeah. That's
Can
a good...
that happen?
That is a good question. I was discussing it before we met this evening, is that while the ordinance had signatures required, and it very likely will be approved and moved to the ballot. That is something for the voters to decide on. In the meantime, we're going to continue to make hay while the sun shines and continue to discuss this. If a ballot goes to the voters could vote yes, the voters could vote no.
Correct.
If they vote yes, it goes one way. If the voters vote no, I don't want council to have been sitting around for a month not getting anything done.
Right. So,
But no, you picked up on a good point.
So Erica was asked for information about Bowling Green's data center. This data center, they have a data center there. They've got a person that's whatever, I don't know. But anyhow, obviously they are getting some benefits. They're going to know the taxes that they're going to be paying until they say, I don't want to pay that tax, and they take it to Columbus and say, I don't want to pay it, and there's a big ordeal, just like the gas line. But anyhow.
I'm not following your question.
Never mind. But she could give us numbers right now you could probably get with Bowling Green and instead of using a model that you have made in your mind or what put things together with, you could actually give us something. Don't you think? You could tell them how much
first things first is a point of order. Ms. Willitzer is not a member of City Council, and this is a City Council meeting. And if you have a question or comment, you can come to us and ask us anything.
Okay.
But it's not to put Ms. Willitzer on the point or to obligate her.
I'm not trying to.
Essentially, but that's essentially what you were doing.
Well, no, I was trying to make it easier for everybody here because, I know a lot of people here are definitely no data center. I want to keep an open mind and figure out, is it good? Is it bad? The restrictions and everything. So I know it's not in my backyard though. So, well, okay, bye.
But thank you for being our guest.
Mr. President?
Yep,
can
Mrs. Crutch.
Can I read this letter from Erin Jago, please?
Yeah, please do.
Dear Mayor McCann, members of City Council, and residents of Defiance, my name is Erin Jago. I was once a long-term resident of Defiance, and I've been asked by a dear friend to share my inside industry perspective with you. Having grown up in town, attended Defiance schools, and graduated from DHS in 2002, the future of the community is always close to my heart. Though my career took me away years ago, I am no longer a resident, and I still have many friends in town, and Defiance holds a very special place in my heart for all that it has given me. Since leaving 2008, my path through the U.S. Air Force eventually brought me into the data center industry. Today, I work as an operations manager overseeing multiple buildings on a 200-plus megawatt campus in Northern Virginia, the world capital of data centers. Before I continue, I want to clearly state that the insights I'm sharing tonight are based entirely on my own personal industry experience and observations and do not necessarily reflect the official views or positions of my employer. Because I care so deeply about my hometown, I'm hoping that in some way I can give back by sharing my side knowledge. Seeing communities push back against data center proposals is something I observe regularly. Those concerns are highly valid if a community accepts a cheap, poorly planned facility. However, I'm not opposed to a data center coming to any city. If it's done right, it can be a massive asset. Here are some of the main observations I've come across. Symbiotic profitability. It's a win-win-win ecosystem. The conversation around data centers shouldn't be a zero-sum game. When development is done correctly, it creates symbiotic profitability. This means the site ensures long-term operational success for the provider, while simultaneously pouring predictable, lucrative contracts into local vendors like HVAC, cleaning, electrical, landscaping, snow removal, and plumbing. and generating a robust, reliable tax base for the community. A top-tier data center integrates deeply into the local ecosystem without burdening public infrastructure. Now, what doing it right looks like, the danger isn't data centers themselves. It's hastily saying yes to operators looking to cut corners. A premium high-cost build should include custom noise accentuating enclosures. Data centers require massive backup generators and chillers. Defiance must mandate heavy-duty, custom noise containment enclosures around all generators, acoustic baffling on exterior chillers, and structural sound mitigation so ambient noise does not disrupt neighboring properties. Water conservation. Modern, environmentally friendly facilities utilize closed-loop cooling systems. These recirculate water or glycol rather than drawing millions of gallons from municipal supplies or using outdated open evaporative cooling methods. Defiance should strictly prohibit open-loop systems. Power infrastructure and grid protection. Cheap facilities drain the local grid, but high-quality operators pay for their own dedicated substations, transmission upgrades, and utilize on-site microgrids or battery storage so they do not strain the local utility capacity or drive up residents' rates. Advanced environmental containment. High-standard facilities utilize strict containment systems, like double-walled fuel tanks, to guarantee no oil or fuel leaks into the soil or groundwater, strictly adhering to DEQ standards for emissions and testing. Protecting the community beyond the technical build, the city must protect its fiscal and visual landscape. Strict control on tax abatements. Data centers don't create massive amounts of permanent jobs once built. Their local value is their equipment and property taxes. The city should heavily limit long-term tax holidays. A good operator paying their fair share can radically transform the funding for Defiance City Schools or other schools and emergency services without raising taxes of residents. Aesthetics and massive setbacks. A cheap facility looks like a windowless concrete box in a field. The city should demand strict architectural standards, substantial setbacks from residential zoning, and heavy earthen beams planted with mature native trees to completely screen the facility from public view. A community benefit agreement. A high-quality developer will eagerly sign a community benefit agreement. This could look like directly funding a STEM lab at the schools, or creating paid internships, or purchasing specialized equipment for the local fire department. And transparency. Confident operators don't force restrictive non-disclosure agreements that keep the public and technical experts in the dark during the planning phase. The power is in the permitting. Defiance shouldn't shy away from development, but the city holds all the leverage right now. The city must use this permit process to bind developers to these premium standards and conditional permitting before a single shovel hits the dirt. If a company wants to build in Defiance, they must be financially prepared to be a long-term partner that respects the town's land and people. A foundation of gratitude, I'm incredibly grateful for the city of Defiance. Growing up in this town provided the bedrock for everything I've achieved since. It is because I care so deeply about my hometown and the friends who still live there that I want to ensure it's protected and elevated by a new industry. Thank you, Mayor McCann, city members, and residents for your time and your service to the city. Should you have any technical questions, we can further ask Garen J. Gao, Defiance High School class of 2002.
Thank you, Mrs. Crutch. All right, and last call for comments. Mr. Keller.
Yeah, Brian Keller. I'm the majority owner of the Elliott Road Development Project. I'm here on my 59th birthday. I'm saying that because, you know, why would I go to these meetings and sit here and listen to all this? And it's really because I want to firsthand hear the concerns of everybody and really understand what they're worried about, so that if I get a development coming to this road, this area, that we can make sure we address all those concerns. You know, my daughter lives here. My two daughters work for me in the company at Keller Logistics Group. My grandkids here. Milo's 5 years old and Parker's 3 years old, and Milo starts school at Ayersville next year. He went to Good Samaritan. Parker's going to go to Good Samaritan School. I care about this community, and I don't want anything negative to impact them in their 20 or 40 years. I'm hoping, I got my daughters slated to run the company when they turn 53. You know, I want this company to be here for the rest of their lives and my grandkids' lives, and therefore I want this community to thrive, and I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want anyone to feel vibrations and have a humming noise. I don't want any of that for my fellow citizens here. And so I appreciate, all the feedback and honesty I got, we heard today, and how we can mitigate anything. I mean, you never know. And maybe, a steel mill may call me up and want to be here, or a agriculture greenhouse may want to be here. And so if a greenhouse comes here, well, then we got to worry about light. How are we going to protect the neighbors from light? That's what these zoning regulations can really help us with. And I hope you get those. I hope we're working on those. If you start bringing us examples next week, because we got to get those done so we can get on with economic development, whether it's a data center or not. We need to protect ourselves with good zoning regulations on sound, on vibration, on lighting, all that stuff. 100% support that, and I'll respect whatever you guys come up with, and I will abide by it, and I will not let any bad actors into this community. I love this place, and I'm going to protect this place. I also want to say, I've heard a lot of comments here, and I've talked to a lot of the city council and the administration, and I can tell you they care about this community. And to say they don't care about this community and want the best for this community is really insulting. And I appreciate all the work you guys are putting in and trying to do what's best for. I think this meeting alone was a sacrifice of your personal time to hear the concerns and really to craft something that's going to keep Defiance a great place to live. So thank you for all you've done for us today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And with last call for comments already called, do we have a motion to adjourn for this evening?
So moved, sir.
So moved, Mr. Corbett. Second, Mr. Mast. All those in favor of adjourning for this evening and reconvening next Tuesday, August 25th at our regular location, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we are adjourned.